Hello friends, today we are going to see what is Gary's sclerosing osteomyelitis. As the name is indicating, Gary's here refers to the scientist's name who discovered this osteomyelitis. Sclerosing here refers to hardening of the bone. There will be hardening of the bone is seen, and osteomyelitis simply refers to bone marrow inflammation. Here osteo derived from the word osteon, which means bone. Here myelo refers to marrow and itis refers to inflammation. So it is nothing but a bone marrow inflammation. So in this Gary's osteomyelitis, we are going to see hardening of the bone as well as inflammation of the bone. So this is named after a Swiss surgeon, Dr. Carl Gary, and it is characterized by active periosteum proliferation. There will be proliferation of periosteum. It is important to remember that is nothing but sclerosis, that is hardening of the bone occur because of active periosteal proliferation. And there also be a formation of subperiosteal bone, that is the new bone formation will going to be seen, and there is no purulent exudate or the pus formation is seen. Why? Because it is a non-suppurative osteomyelitis. I have already discussed in part 1 of osteomyelitis, that is Gary's sclerosing osteomyelitis is a non-suppurative type of osteomyelitis, that is there will be no suppuration, there will be no exudate, there will be no pus formation. So it is believed to result from over-inflammatory reaction of the periosteum. So here we are going to see inflammatory reaction of the periosteum. And it is commonly seen in children and adults, usually on the lateral surface of the body of the mandible. So it will be present on the lateral surface of the body of the mandible. Now let us see etiology or the causes of this Gary's osteomyelitis. The one of the reason can be periapical abscess or the periapical granuloma which has formed at the apex of the root, because of the carious lesion which has progressed into the enamel, then dentine and into the pulp, and it leads to periapical infection or the periapical abscess or the periapical granuloma, or it can be due to post extraction infection. If after the extraction there is any residual infection is there into the socket, then it will lead to Gary's osteomyelitis. Now let us see clinical features of this Gary's osteomyelitis in detail. So it will be localized in nature, it will be unilateral, and hard mandibular swelling with little tenderness is seen. So it is localized in nature, it is usually present on one side, that is what we are calling it as unilateral, and here the hardening or the mandibular swelling is seen with a little tenderness. Pain can be there which could be episodic. That means it will not be continuous, it will be episodic. The episode of the pain will be there and then the subsequent relief of the pain will be there. No apparent systemic signs is there, so no systemic symptoms are there. This is a typical clinical picture of Gary's osteomyelitis. As you can see, it is unilateral because there is no hardening on the adjacent side or the other side of the jaw, and you can appreciate the swelling around the angle of the mandible. So this clinical picture is showing frontal view of the patient, showing well defined swelling in the left side of the jaw. As you can see, the arrow is indicating the swelling area. So here we are going to see the thickening of the cortical bone. There we are going to see onion skin appearance due to new bone formation. So on the radiograph we are going to see the onion skin appearance or the new bone formation in the incremental manner. So now let us understand with the help of this radiographic picture. As you can see here, the swelling is appreciated on the radiograph. As you can see, there is a layers of bone formation, that is onion skin appearance. It is a typical radiographic picture of cone beam computer tomography showing an extensive radiolucent image associated with the first mandibular molar with bone rarefaction and opaque bone laminations on the cortical surface resembling the onion peel appearance or the onion skin appearance. So as you can appreciate on this radiograph, this is resembling the onion peel appearance. And as you can appreciate, there is a radiopacity is there which is indicating there is sclerosing is there, hardening of the bone is present. Now let us see histology of Gary's osteomyelitis in detail. So here we are going to see dense sclerotic bone or the bone formation will be there, scanty connective tissue will be there, or the inflammatory cell will be there. So as you can see in this picture, all these areas are nothing but the sclerosis or the bone formation is there, and all these purple color structures are the scanty connective tissue. In the connective tissue there are lots of inflammatory cell is present in between. So it is a typical histological picture. Analysis is showing parallel rows of richly cellularized reactive trabecular bone extending from the cortical surface. Now let us see what are the treatment of this Gary's osteomyelitis. Usually removal of the infected tooth. So here the reason is infection or the inflammation. So for removal of infection, we have to remove the infected tooth. Then we have to do curettage of the socket with curative. So what is curettage? Curettage is nothing but after removing all the infected tooth or the infected granulation tissues, after that we have to remove some healthy bone structure from the socket. So there will be chances of recurrence of osteomyelitis will be less. Surgery should be done only if there is obvious facial asymmetry at least 6 months after waiting period. Surgery is only indicated after the resolution or after removing the infected tooth if the asymmetry of the face is there even after the 6 months. So in that cases we are going to suggest the surgery to the patient that the facial asymmetry can be resolved. We have come to an end of this topic.